So if you guys watched my channel for any period of time, especially my videos on the 2017 Airstream Interstate that I purchased almost a year ago, it was back November of 2016 that I took delivery of the Interstate. It's now going on October 2017. You'll know that I've posted some videos about my likes and dislikes. So one of the most frustrating dislikes that I have with the Airstream is not necessarily with the Airstream itself or with its construction or systems, but really with one of the accessories that Airstream provides with the Interstate. And what I'm referring to is the front windshield sun visor and the front passenger and driver side sun visors. Now these sun visors are a third-party accessory. They're branded with the Airstream logo, and the front window visor is made of a very rigid material. You fold it up, you insert it into the front window area, and it helps reflect the sun, keep the heat out, as well as providing some privacy when you're camping at night and you're changing clothes and all that good stuff, and you need a little privacy. Same thing with the driver side and passenger side front windows. A similar material with a reflective coating is provided. What I found extremely infuriating about how the front driver and passenger privacy shades install is by way of little straps that are provided, and the little straps, there's really no place to insert the straps. The instructions don't tell you how to go about using the shade other than clipping it to the seat belt. And I tried relentlessly to figure out how to clip. There's no way that the side passenger or driver sunscreens they have nothing to do with the seat belt. And so I'll show you in a little bit what I'm referring to. And what I eventually had to do was insert the straps either behind the door frame, which I had been doing for months, or then one of you guys suggested to actually roll up those little straps in the window, which I started to do, which made it a little bit easier, but still extremely hard to insert. Definitely not a quick job, just super frustrating for an expensive RV. So thankfully, one of my viewers let me know that in the newer 2018, and actually I don't even think it was a 2018, I think it was just another later model year 2017 Interstate. Somewhere along the line, Airstream actually changed the design of these sunscreens for the three front windows to now include, especially for the driver's side and passenger side, to now include magnets, so that there are now no longer straps that you have to try to figure out. Do you wedge them in between the door jamb? You roll them up in the window? You don't have to worry about that anymore. Now you simply use the magnets that are embedded inside of the sunscreens, and they clip to the window like magic. So I haven't used them yet. What I did was reached out to Airstream and actually let them know, hey, the sunscreens that I have suck. And so based on that, I really went to Airstream to submit a warranty claim to get them replaced. But on top of that, I let them know, hey, I've heard that there is a new version of these. The ones that I have do a horrible job of actually providing privacy or staying in place. And so after a couple of months of a couple of emails, Airstream's been extremely receptive and responsive to any requests that I've had. They've been fantastic, and I have nothing but great things to say about how they've handled warranty claims directly without me having to go to the dealer. They went ahead and sent me a whole new replacement set of sunscreens for the front window, passenger, and driver sides. So I've got them back in the back, and I'm going to head over to the Airstream at storage right now and compare the old version and the new version and go ahead and see how the new version actually installs compared to the old version. So let's go take a look. So in the 2017 Airstream Interstate that I purchased, these are the side passenger and driver sunscreens that were included. And they're fabric material, they're double-sided, more of a shiny, reflective material, woven material on the outside, and a matte finish on the inside. On the interior, they have a kind of a blackout material, and then they have these straps. And right now you'll see on the driver's side I have both of the black fabric straps rolled up in the window, and if I put the window down I can go ahead and get it out. Let me turn the car on, put the window back up, and you can see here that it's really nothing more than a fabric strap. Two fabric straps on the top, and if I turn this around, on the bottom there's a longer fabric strap that, again, there is zero notation of how to insert these. And originally what I was doing with these top fabric straps, I was actually opening the door because I was afraid of messing up the rubber gasket with the glass. And so every time I'd go camping, I would take these two little black fabric straps, try to hold them up on top of the door frame, and then slam the door shut. And so what that always caused on the bottom was a large gap. You can't really see, but there's a gap. So then you're left with trying to pull the sunscreen back down, hope that one of the straps stays up top, and it was just a complete disaster overall. So here in the front of the Interstate is the original sunscreen that was provided. Now, originally in some of my videos, I complained about how frustrating this was to install. What I've found is that it's not been nearly as big of a pain as the driver side and passenger side sunscreens. This is a very rigid sunscreen. The same material, more of a reflective woven material, almost metallic looking on the outside that you put facing the exterior, and then more of a matte woven finish here on the interior. And in between both of those layers is a rigid material to help give this some structure. This is a pretty big window in the front of the Sprinter chassis, and it's easily over 36 inches from top to bottom, this sunscreen. And the width, if I had to guesstimate, you're easily about 5 feet wide, so it's pretty big. So these definitely do help provide some rigidity to the overall sunscreen. It's interesting because as the sunscreen sits in the sun, you'll actually find that the material in between, it kind of becomes a little concave. So I think the heat starts to bend it, and you'll see here on the end, it's curved a bit. Over time, the sun just naturally kind of takes its toll where it's clipped in or held in place by the visor up top and then the dashboard down below, so that heat is naturally softening the sunscreen here in the middle, and you can see it kind of does that all the way across, even here on the driver's side. So the biggest frustration to this was trying to get the sunscreen in and around this rear passenger monitor, and I found it to be a little easier to put in and take out now that I've kind of learned the nuances of how to do it. I'm going to go ahead and show you what it looks like to take out, and then I'll go ahead and put it back in, and we'll compare that to the new one, see if it's any better, and overall take a look at both of them side to side. Alright, so let's go ahead and take the front sunscreen out. I'm going to put both of the visors up, and you'll see it just kind of naturally falls down a bit, held only in place by the rear view monitor. Now, it's soft enough right now from the sun that I should be able to pry this down and around the monitor. And this was always my concern, really, was the longevity of the bracket and the wiring and all the components for the camera monitor. You really need to move this up and around and turn it vertically to remove this, or to get it in the easiest position to remove. And you'll see how quickly that slips off. But that requires you to constantly move this every single time. And if you're like me and if you've had cars long enough, every once in a while, these brackets that are attached to the glass, I've had them come off. And so it is something that concerns me. I guess we'll see long term how that holds up. To put this back on, again, you've got to kind of get this in the vertical position, and then once it's around the rear view monitor, just turn it around in normal viewing position, and then you would put your visors down to hold it in place. The entire visor slips down to the dashboard easily enough. That's not a problem. It's always been this. So I'll go ahead and take this out completely, pull that back up, and then it just pulls out. And you'll see that it's perforated. It's quite warm right now since it's been in the sun. I could probably get a suntan. But this entire thing folds up. Takes a little bit of maneuvering to get it back in the right position, kind of like an accordion. Not too difficult. A little back and forth action. And then once you've got it put together, there are straps on these side ones that what I'll generally do is get both of the side ones folded up, and then I'll put them on top of the front window sunscreen protector. And this strap is long enough, and I forgot, and when I said earlier I didn't know what this went to, it actually is to help strap everything together. So you can use this to wrap around the entire package and Velcro everything together for storage. Get this in the right direction. And so you can kind of see that helps a little bit. The side driver and passenger aren't very rigid. They've got one bar in them. You can kind of see that's the only section being held straight. I don't really know. It's kind of randomly put. It might just be a weight to help keep the entire sunscreen flat against the window. I'm not really sure. Again, not the best design, and I'm glad to move on to the new version and see how those do. And so let's go take a look at the new one. Alright, so here I've got the original bag for the sunscreens, and this is kind of a canvas bag. You know, it's okay, nothing fancy. I don't have the sunscreens in here, otherwise it would be a little more of a rounded shape. It's got one little carry handle, and then it's got a Velcro flap on the other end once all the sunscreens are put in place. So I wanted to compare that against the new sunscreen bag. They are about the same length. The difference is it's in a very nice, rugged vinyl bag. You've got the Airstream logo imprinted on it, same as the old canvas bag. You have two handles, so a nice upgrade from the one. Overall, the bag just much nicer in design, and you have a full-length zipper here on top versus the single flap here, which actually makes it a lot harder to get everything folded up and slid into the bag. This makes it a lot easier to roll it up and put it in since you have a full-length zipper. So, with that said, let's take a look at what's inside. So right off the bat, it's a completely different material. And let's take a look at the original material. So you're gonna see here, here's the new material. It's a shiny, metallic, very pliable fabric. It's thick, but not nearly as thick as this woven metallic type material. And you can see here it's very woven, very rugged. This was the side that went facing the exterior, and then this was the woven side that faced the interior. So this is the old version, here's the new version. Looks like they're both piped in a fabric, and both the driver's side and passenger side are rolled up. So right off the bat, there are no flaps of fabric anywhere. Versus here, you've got the long strap to wrap it all up, and then you've got these two random flaps up top that we talked about that I had the hardest time figuring out how to use them. So let's see how they compare size-wise. If I can figure out, let me try the other one. I don't know right now which one's which for the driver's side and passenger side. I think this black line, I believe, is going to line up with the bar in between the operable window that goes up and down, and then this is the fixed pane of glass on the window. And I think inside of here there are magnets. Yep, and so that shape lines up. The old one and the new one. So it looks like if I hold them together on the bottom, try to get these stretched out just a bit, it looks like the new one is about an inch and a half taller along the front. Now what's interesting here on the side, the old one was rounded, the new one actually has a little cutout. Let me move this so you can see. So I'll be curious to see how this little cutout ties into the window design. Alright, so that's the side privacy shades. Let's take a look at the new front shade. So the new front shade, make some room here, is also rigid. It's the same material that the new side shades are made out of. Alright, so interesting. Let's see. So as I unfold this, one big difference you can kind of see here. Right here, here's a rigid panel, and then there's a space with no panel, it's just fabric, and then another rigid panel, and then space, and then another panel. So one difference is that they've gone from being completely solid with panels in between on the old version. This new version skips every other one. And then when we get here to the center, where your rear view mirror monitor goes, there's two sections that don't have the rigid panel in between, so they've actually skipped two, and then it goes back to rigid panel, space, rigid panel. So I think what this will actually do is make it easier to insert and remove. I don't know if this anywhere has magnets. It shouldn't have magnets. Really, the only places that needs magnets are the side doors. It does have these straps up top to help strap it closer to that rear view camera monitor. So we'll see how this ties into everything. All right, so here this tells me which side faces out, because this does not include any instructions. The original set included very basic instructions that, as I said earlier, told you to strap it to the seat belt, which didn't line up with anything and didn't make sense. This new set includes 0 instructions. There's no tag or anything, but it does include the Airstream logo, so I'm gonna assume that this faces the outside. And it looks like the outside and the inside, the material, it's reversible. It's exactly the same. So that should be pretty straightforward. So let's go check it out and see how they install. All right, so I've got the driver's side screen right here and the driver's side window. So again, this does not have any straps to put in the window at all. And this black seam right here has, I believe, some magnets in it. So we're gonna go ahead and see how this works. I think, yeah, and I can feel the magnets in there. What's interesting though is that this bar has rubber on it, so I don't know how well that's actually gonna stick to this bar, so we'll see. And then this notch right here actually ties into where the grab bar is. So let's first check on what happens if I just stick it up here, if it attaches to anything. Okay. All right, well, so far so good. Okay, so here's what it's attaching to. It's not attaching to the rubber area. You actually have to kind of maneuver it just a bit so that the exposed metal here catches the magnets. So that does work. All right, so that's holding. And let's see. Oh my gosh, this is amazing. Why didn't they think of this in the first version? Okay, so magnets. There is a magnet here. You can feel it. A magnet up here. There's a magnet right here. So there's 2 magnets on the side. There's one magnet up here in the corner where my hand is. There's one right here. So let's see if we get it. What's interesting about these top magnets, you may not be able to see, but the rubber of the window is like right where the magnet wants to be. So you got to kind of pull the whole screen up. I guess that works. I guess there's enough wiggle room to pull the screen up and still have privacy down below. It just takes a little maneuvering. This really, let's see, I'm trying to get it up to stick to the metal up there. I feel like, honestly, this is worlds apart from the old one. They could have made this like an inch taller overall and an inch wider so that these magnets were not, they're so close to the black rubber that it's like just barely hitting the metal because this rubber's in the way. So I don't know, maybe over time this fabric will stretch. Over here where the handle is, let's see where there's magnets. All right, so there's a magnet right here up top. As I come down, there's another magnet right here. And there's another magnet down here. Which is funny, again, because this magnet here, there's 0 metal right here. It's all rubber. So there's nothing for it to attach to. I don't get it. All right, this does attach right here to the metal. And this one up here also attaches to the metal. So overall, I mean, there's one down here by the handle that there's zero metal for it to attach to. And I still think up top, right here, again, this really wants to just kind of hang down because it's just shy of getting up to the metal piece. And unless I try to pull this whole thing up, if I pull the whole curtain up, it will touch. But then actually what happens down below, there's like half an inch all the way. If this was really flat, if somebody really wanted to peek in, they could. There's now a half an inch all the way down here because I had to pull it up to touch the metal. All right, so overall, new design. If I had to rate this sucker on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm gonna give it a 7. The old design, I'm gonna give a 0 because it just sucked. The fabric was great, but overall it just sucked. This I'm gonna give a 7. The fabric's good. It's not as thick, so I'll be curious to see how it does as far as repelling the sun and the heat. It does a much better job covering the entire window, which is fantastic. If they would, and you can see again up top, this magnet, in order to keep it private down below, it's just short, like an inch. Just make these things another inch. Ah, so annoying. So I'll give it a 7, but so much better. 2 thumbs up compared to the old one. So let's tackle the front one now. All right, so I've got the side sunscreen in. Let's go ahead and try this front sunscreen. I'm gonna put the Airstream logo facing out. Now I will say that these new screens are so much lighter than the old ones and easier to maneuver, which is great. They're still over 3 feet long and probably about 5.5 feet wide. And the fact that they have actually removed some of these rigid planks in between of the fabric layers makes this so much easier to manipulate. So generally, the biggest struggle was always getting around this rear view monitor. I'm gonna go ahead, unstrap the Velcro, and see, so much better. So if you saw that, I didn't even have to move this monitor at all because this fabric is maneuverable enough that it simply goes right up around, and then you use the Velcro to hold that in place. Let's see. Let's make sure it's down there, and then go ahead and pull the visor down. And there you go. So compared to the old one, which probably took twice the amount of time, this new one goes up super fast and looks fantastic. So overall for the design, I'm gonna give this one a 9. What I would like to see that I just experienced was that before, this center area, overall, the old version was a little more rigid. So when you inserted this down the dashboard, it did a little better job down here staying rigid, whereas right now you've got this center section that's nothing but fabric, so it kind of bunches up down here. So I'm trying to just make sure that it's all evenly distributed and not bunched up. It's already getting super hot. Good grief. But overall, I'm going to give this one a 9. So absolutely fantastic improvement over the old design. So on the outside, the new screen protector, here's the passenger side. You'll see that it does a fantastic job of covering the entire window. I have it positioned so there aren't any gaps all the way around. Looks great. Let's go check out the front. So here you can see the logo facing out, and it's very evident where those rigid panels are. So over time, with the heat, that fabric in between those panels is gonna soften and sink a little bit. Same thing here with this center. It's gonna kind of sink down. So it'll be interesting to see what happens the longer this sits in the sun. But it does a fantastic job covering the entire window with very little fuss. I would like that center section of fabric to touch the window a little better to help reflect the sun a little bit better. It would have been nice if there's a little more rigidity right there. And then come over to the driver's side. And again, fantastic job of covering the entire window, and it's pretty right up against the glass. So I think I'm at the point in my Airstream Interstate journey with the sunscreens that I can finally come to a conclusion that Airstream stands behind their continued product development and enhancement. And even though I've complained about a lot of the little stupid things that I don't like in the Airstream Interstate, and I've had a lot of comments about how it's a silly waste of money, I still believe and stand by Airstream in their product. Yes, they charge a premium, but very similar to Apple. For the most part, their products generally work, they work well, and they stand by their products. And that's been my experience with Airstream thus far in just something as stupid as a sunscreen. So I appreciate Airstream sending a replacement sunscreen for me, the new and improved version that I think works fantastically. Yes, the next version maybe add another inch of fabric so that you don't have a silly little issue with one of the magnets not lining up. But I think overall it's a great improvement. And again, I'm glad to see Airstream stand behind their product and improve what they had. And they obviously recognize that it was not working as well as it could. And so I'm excited about it. If you haven't checked out my other Airstream Interstate review videos, be sure to do so. As always, leave a comment, thumbs up if you like, subscribe and share, and I'll see you the next time. Take care.